Worryometer Wednesday. We haven't fired it up in a while, so let's do it, Chris. We have some hitters that are struggling here in July. And as we have done in the past, Worryometer 1 to 10. 1, you are not worried at all. 10, you are freaking out. What do we do with this player? Tommy Edman. So last 22 games dating back to June 20th. This was entering Wednesday. 133 batting average, 1 homer, 0 steals, not hitting the ball with any authority. Back in April, he was crushing the ball. He had 8 home runs, an OPS over 800. He went on the IL with that ankle injury, and I kind of just feel like it's derailed his season completely here. So Tommy Edman, where is he on the Worryometer, 1 to 10?
Yeah, so you look at the past 250 plate appearances, his xWOBA is 319. The past 100, it's 306. That's pretty much what Tommy Edman's been for most of his career. And he's been a very useful fantasy option for most of his career. The problem is Tommy Edman does not steal bases anymore. He had 6 in 37 games last season. That's like a 25 to 30 steal pace. He has 3 in 79 games this season. And so
still 82nd percentile speed.
Yeah, he's still pretty fast, but he has lost a step. And if he had that little power boost early in the season, he hit for some power last season. It was like we were thinking maybe, he's found this pull side air thing and he's turning into a decent power hitter. And no, it doesn't seem like it. It seems like he's turned back into what he's been for most of his career without the stolen bases, which makes it a super, super fringy profile for Tommy Edman. So he's someone that probably going to have to move down next time I update my rankings.
But where is he on the Worryometer, Chris?
8.
8. Is he droppable?
Yeah. I think so, yeah. I think Tommy Edman is not at all a must-roster player, and you look at, wouldn't you rather have Otto Lopez than Tommy Edman at this point?
I think
I
so.
would. Yeah. I think we're dropping him. He's maybe not even a top 20 second baseman now for me.
In head-to-head size lineups where you don't have an extra middle corner and it's only 3 outfielders, I think Edman is probably droppable in those. In Roto or deeper, where you do have the middle corner, Edman now has third base eligibility and 5 outfielders. I think he's worth keeping around. Maybe you just bench him for now, but head-to-head lineups, I think you could probably drop Tommy Edman, unfortunately. What about Brian Reynolds, who had himself a big game on Tuesday, 3 for 5 with 2 runs and 2 RBI, but those have been few and far between this season. June was his best month, and now July is his worst. 194 batting average, 0 homers, a 464 OPS, a 40% strikeout rate in the month. The quality of contact has cratered here in July. And this is all pretty crazy because when you look under the hood for the season, Chris, the quality of contact is the expected numbers. They're all there for Brian Reynolds, but it has been a rough one. Where is he on the Worryometer?
I think the quality of contact overall remains impressive enough that I'm not too worried. Now, it has taken a hit in the month of July. Let me pull up exactly what it is. 189 expected WOBA in July. Whiff rate's up to 37%. Average exit velocity down to 87.5. I think he's just slumping.
He's been slumping all season, Chris.
Well, yes, but there are different types of slumps, right? There are the slumps where you're just not producing well, and then there are slumps where your skill level takes a step back. And for most of the season, Brian Reynolds was just the former. It was just the numbers weren't there, but the process looked great. And then now it's both. The process looks bad and the numbers aren't there. I will take the longer track record. I will take the overall production or overall underlying numbers still looking very good, and tag Brian Reynolds with a buy low label and a 2 on the Worryometer.
All right, next up we have Josh Lowe from the Rays. Brutal July, hitting 140 with 1 homer, 0 steals, 2 caught stealing, a 465 OPS. Strikeouts, not a problem in the month, but just not barreling the ball up, not making ideal contact here. expected numbers still look pretty good. Chris, where is Josh Lowe on the worryometer?
I'm not the Josh Lowe guy, so I feel like you and Scott need to answer this one because you guys like Josh Lowe a lot more than I do. I think he's just not that good. I think he's talented, but I've never been a believer in Josh Lowe as like a hugely impactful player. Doesn't play every day. Not a great hitter, even though he's shielded against most lefties. I think Josh Lowe is a 5 on the worryometer, but I think it's like a mid 700s OPS bat and some speed.
Yeah, I was going to say 5 as well. I think in, again, head-to-head size lineups, points leagues probably don't need to be rostered. Any 5 outfielder leagues or anything deeper than that, I'm keeping Josh Lowe around, obviously. Maybe you bench him in weeks where they're facing a bunch of lefties or whatever it might be. I kind of feel the way you spoke about Reynolds, that Lowe is just kind of slumping right now because when I looked into the underlying numbers for July, they're not really terrible, and his expected stats are still pretty fine. So, I think for deeper leagues, I would still be holding on to someone like Josh Lowe and Roto. I think the speed is going to bounce back.
I think he's just, he had 2023?
Yeah,
when he was like a close to a 30-20 guy. I don't think the power is there. That's the biggest thing for me. I think he's more like a 15-25 guy, and that's useful. It's just not in points leagues, and even in Roto, I think he's fringy because the counting stats are going to be pretty mediocre.
Next up, we have Jackson Merrill, and maybe he's just not right physically. Went on the IL twice this season, once with a hamstring, once with a concussion, and obviously concussions are tough. Players are not going to, not every player, but a lot of players are not going to always talk out about, hey, I'm dealing with concussion-like symptoms or anything. I remember Rizzo a couple of years ago, it took like a couple months for us to find out he was dealing with concussion symptoms and things like that. But 23 games since coming off the IL for Merrill, 167 batting average, 2 homers, 537 OPS. It's been a struggle all year, Chris. Where is Jackson Merrill on the worryometer for you?
I think the idea that he's just not right because of the concussions carries a lot of weight. The only thing that I'm struggling with is, wouldn't you expect that to show up in like across his whole game? Like you're seeing it on the batting side. He's clearly taken a step back as a hitter, and the underlying numbers are pretty much worse across the board. The quality of contact is still very good, but the plate discipline especially has been significantly worse. The defense is exceptional, though. And that's the one thing that's like, well, maybe it's just like a balance issue, or he's not seeing the ball well.
It could just be a sophomore slump. Like, that's entirely possible.
But you would think it would impact him in across the board. And maybe that's wrong. But I don't know. The underlying numbers are still very good for Jackson Merrill. It is worth noting, 278 batting average, 496 X slug. Strikeout rate's a little up, but the quality of contact's still pretty good. He hits a lot of barrels. He hits a lot of line drives. I'm really struggling this one. I want to be, I think I should be more worried than I am, but it's more like a 6 on the worryometer.
The pull air percentage, which wasn't great for Merrill last year, only 15%, down to 11% this year. And he's always kind of profiled as more of a gap-to-gap, really good line drive hitter than he is a power hitter. So I was personally surprised to see the power come along as much as it did last season. So, yeah, like maybe he's just kind of regressed. I feel like it might not work out from this year, but he's a player I'm going to love to buy for next season.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like, buy the slump for sure.
If there's a discount in drafts next year, like, yeah, give me that Jackson Merrill. What about Maikel Garcia of the Royals? Just interesting season. It was a bad April. It was a great May, great June. Now an awful July where he's hitting 203, 0 homers, 0 steals, a 512 OPS. Chris, where is Maikel Garcia on the worryometer?
Yeah, the 0 steals is concerning because that's always been the thing he could, even last season he buoyed his value by stealing a bunch of bases. The plate discipline still looks excellent. in the month of July, only 6 strikeouts in 65 plate appearances. Expected stats are awesome. 340 expected WOBA right now. That's exactly what it's been basically the whole season. So this feels like just running into a little bad luck for Michael Garcia. It does not look like the skills have atrophied in any way. So I'm going to put him at a 2 on the worryometer.
And his position eligibility is just so valuable. Second,
Everywhere.
third, shortstop, outfield is awesome there. So maybe a chance to buy Michael Garcia if anyone's worried about this recent slump. What about Ian Happ? Weird season, hit for a bunch of power in June, 9 home runs, but only a 208 batting average in the month. He is struggling mightily here in July, 153, just 1 homer, 502 OPS. He has been dropped down in the Cubs lineup, has been hitting between 5 and 7 in their lineup. Ian Happ has done it for so long, Chris, and usually he's just a guy, set it and forget it. He gets to his numbers by the end of the season, but I don't know. This is kind of a worse slumping month than we're used to seeing from Ian Happ.
Yeah, it's a bad month. And even before that, he only had a 734 OPS, so it's been a disappointing season all around for Ian Happ. Quality of contact metrics have taken a slight step back across the board, but his plate discipline, his strikeout rate's a little better than it was last season, so I don't know. On the whole, I'm not too worried. I think he's a perfectly fine 3rd or 4th outfielder, and I don't really think we need to overthink it. Ian Happ's going to get hot. I think he's fine.
All right,
I'm going to say a 4.
Next up, we have Elliot Ramos from the Giants, who, if you look at his month-by-month breakdown, he really just had a massive May. So OPS by month, 662 in April, 1,007 in May, 719 in June, down to 575 here in July. So, and he got out to that great start last year. He slumped in the second half. Maybe Elliot Ramos is just a super streaky player is what we're learning about him. But where is he on the worryometer?
Yeah, he's in a deep slump. His ex-WOBA over the past 100 plate appearances is down to 271. Yeah, I don't know. What's the okay, the splits still look pretty good. Last year he was heavily overweight against lefties and was really bad against righties. This year he's actually been slightly better against righties, which is a promising sign. And I think what you expect from a young right-handed hitter in particular. But yeah, I think your explanation makes a lot of sense that he might just be a really, really streaky hitter, and he's definitely in a slump right now. 266 xWOBA in July. Because we don't have much of a sample size with Elliot Ramos, I think it's reasonable to be a little more worried about him than most, but I'm not panicking to the point where I'm dropping him in a 5 outfielder league, certainly. In a points league, I think he's, you know who he reminds me of, actually?
Who's that?
Lourdes Gurriel.
Okay.
Just like at the end of the season, the numbers are going to look good enough that you're like, he's like the 29th best outfielder in fantasy or the 37th best outfielder in fantasy, whatever it is. But like
it never over the feels that way.
Yeah, over the course of the season, like guys come and go, guys get hurt. Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's just he's never quite as good as he looks at his best and never quite as bad as he looks at his worst, you know?
Yeah, I think that's fair. Last name on the list here is Bryce Terang, who went 0 for 4 with a golden sombrero here on Tuesday. Such an up and down season for him as well. Great April, rough May, bounced back in June, terrible July, where he's hitting 218 with 1 homer, 1 steal, 580 OPS. You put it all together, 275, 6 home runs, 60 runs scored. That all sounds okay. 18 steals?
Yeah.
On pace for 29. Last year it was 50. I don't know. Where is Bryce Terang on the worryometer?
The one thing I want to look at is the attempt pace because, okay, so he's only on, if you give him the same number of games as last year, he's only on pace for 42 attempts. Last year it was 56. So it's not just that he's been much less efficient because that was the one thing that was obviously going to regress for Bryce Terang. He was 50 for 56 on stolen bases last season, and stolen base percentage has very little year-to-year correlation. Guys will go from 95% to 81%. Most high-volume guys are going to settle around 85 to 80%. It's really hard to be like a 90% guy while stealing a ton of bases. So But it's not just the regression of the stolen base rate. And in Terang's case, it kind of feels like he tried to remake himself this season. And for the most part, it's been successful. He's managed to hit for more power and make up for what he's lost in a higher strikeout rate by just hitting the ball much better. And I think on the whole, that's probably where he's at. But we have a very limited track record. His last 100 plate appearances, xWOBA is down to 276. That's really, really bad. So I'm a little more concerned about Bryce Terang than I am most of these guys on this list. I'll say a 7, just because if he's not a true standout in stolen bases, I don't know where he is a standout.
Yeah.
And, man, his numbers each of the last 2 seasons against non-fastballs are horrible. 268 xWOBA against breaking balls, 288 against off-speed pitches this year. Basically the same last year, actually a little bit worse. So, we don't usually think of this type of player as the guy who can only hit fastballs. That's usually like a Jorge Soler or Rhys Hines, just the all-out sluggers. But Terang is really bad against non-fastballs. And that kind of big weakness in your game, that could just be something that pitchers are finally starting to catch up to. It's possible.
Yeah. Rhys Hines was a nice pull there. I like that. Of all the sluggers you could think of, you're like Rhys Hines,
Yeah. The other guy, the Guardians version of Rhys Hines, Noel.
So
that's another one. That's another one I could have gone with. Yeah.
One thing I was worried about Terang coming into the season were his splits. He was really bad against lefties last year. His splits are actually pretty even this season. So even in a head-to-head league where you need volume, I think he's going to play every day, and batting average.
Just worry about him getting dropped down.
It's like, second base is a bad position. I don't know. I guess it's been a little bit better lately, but yeah, I think I'm still holding him. I don't think he's a drop even in a head-to-head size league, but maybe you can ride the hot hand and start somebody who's better right now over Terang in a head-to-head size league, just while he's slumping. Again, he kind of goes through these off-on great months, bad months. So again, that is Bryce Terang.